I think it's a pretty loathsome performance, frankly. I mean, he's showing people why he is now one of the most disliked living figures in British politics. He wants to reverse the result of a democratic referendum. He's making it clear that anything must be done to stop us leaving the EU. He suggests that public opinion has shifted. Well, actually, there are more people in favour of Brexit now than there were at the time of the referendum. But the real irony here is, of all the people to argue that we could get a reform deal with the European Union, Tony Blair is probably the worst placed person to do so, because he, as Prime Minister, was President of the EU for 6 months back in 2005. He promised reform of the Common Agricultural Policy. He got none, and yet gave away £7 billion of our rebate. So I don't think he's a trusted figure on this, or frankly, anything else.
Loathsome he may or may not be, but his point is slightly more nuanced than is just described by yourself. His contention is that various EU leaders that he will have spoken to are willing to make key concessions of the sort that you and others were demanding when in the European Parliament, particularly on freedom of movement, to keep the United Kingdom within the European Union. Now, if that is the case, then why shouldn't that case be allowed to be put to the British public?
Mr Blair, before, when he was Prime Minister, promised us substantial reforms of the terms of our membership. He promised big reforms of the Common Agricultural Policy. He totally failed to deliver. I don't think anybody today is going to take seriously the idea that the EU is somehow going to change its rules. And anyway, the referendum wasn't just about a rule here or there. It was about the supremacy of law. Who governs Britain is what the referendum was about. And Mr Blair, perhaps you weren't listening, but our answer was, we wish to govern ourselves.
Well, with respect, Mr Farage, I mean, some would suggest that Tony Blair might be rather better placed to know the minds of leaders like Macron and Angela Merkel than someone like yourself, who essentially spent many, many years taking, well, the mickey out of them to their faces.
Well, I've spent nearly 20 years there, actually working with them, living with them. I think I know the mindset of the European Union as well as anybody. He argued, Blair, that with the election of Macron, reform is now on the agenda. Well, it is. But the point is, reform in Brussels means more centralisation of powers, not less. So the EU is going in completely the wrong direction. It is in the midst now of its biggest ever argument over the migration crisis, and I think we've left at exactly the right time.
Still, this intervention by Tony Blair does rather suggest that the dynamics of the argument between those who voted Remain and those who voted to leave has somewhat shifted. It does certainly feel right now that those who advocate the case for leaving the European Union are on the back foot, that they are the ones who are being forced to provide answers to the difficult questions.
There is a major problem for Brexit right at the moment, and it's this. All of those on the corporate pro-EU side, the big organisations, the big companies, the very same people who were arguing we should join the euro, we should vote to remain, who are now saying we should stay part of the customs union and single market. They're an organised, effective lobby, and they're putting out their stuff every single day. On the other side of the argument, at the moment, there is no coherent business organisation of all the different groups and companies who see positive benefits from Brexit. And that is the missing piece of a jigsaw in British politics at the moment. And that is something those of us who want Brexit have got to sort out.
Some might suggest that you would be ideally placed to lead such a charge.
Well, we'll have to see, won't we? I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to see through my job in the European Parliament, and report on what I see going on there. But if I can help in any way at all to bring together business voices to counter this daily negative dart that we've got, then I will do so.
Well, what would be your response if you were given that job to the point made by the Prime Minister in the clip that we just played, that the savings ratio, the lowest in 50 years, the investment community internationally negative about the United Kingdom, currency down 12%, investment in the car industry down 30%. It's a pretty stark picture that he paints. How would you defend it?
Well, actually, inward investment throughout the year of 2016 into the UK was very, very good. And the most important thing that I think we should be emphasising is the fact that America, Australia, Japan, 24 countries are lining up, chomping at the bit, saying, right, let's get a proper special trade relationship going between us. And, of course, the positive argument of Brexit was that in terms of trade, in terms of business, we've got the chance now to engage with 85% of the world's economy that is not in the European Union. And these are the positive arguments that now need to be made.
Still, are you as confident as you undoubtedly would have been the morning of the 24th of June 2016 that the United Kingdom will be exiting the European Union?
Oh, we'll leave the European Union. Of that, I've got no doubt at all. I think that any party leader that goes against that would be frankly committing electoral suicide. Our minds are made up. So yes, we will leave at the end of March 2019. However, my concern now is that the deal will get so watered down that we'll have left in name only.